Hello everyone. Today, let's explore a hidden treasure in the Bible, the Book of Proverbs. Have you ever wondered how to live a meaningful life, how to deal with others, and find true peace? The Book of Proverbs is the answer for you. This is not a dry, dogmatic book, but a vibrant guide, containing valuable advice from King Solomon, known as the wisest man of his time. These teachings are not outdated, but remain relevant, helping us make right decisions in modern life. Before we begin, let's pray together. Lord, I thank you for your word, the source of infinite wisdom. Please open our hearts and minds so that we can understand and apply the teachings in Proverbs to our daily lives. Please grant us discernment, peace, and your blessings. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Today, we will explore the first chapter of Proverbs, where wisdom cries aloud. This chapter introduces the purpose of Proverbs, to impart wisdom, discipline, and understanding. It also warns of the dangers of foolishness and sin, emphasizing that the fear of the Lord is the foundation of true wisdom. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, for learning about wisdom and instruction, for understanding words of insight, for gaining instruction in wise dealing, righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. Proverbs 1 verses 1-4. Wisdom is not just mere knowledge, but the ability to make right and just decisions. God wants us to live purposeful and insightful lives. Those who seek wisdom will learn how to act rightly in every situation. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, fools despise wisdom and instruction. Proverbs 1 verse 7. Without the fear of the Lord, all knowledge becomes meaningless. Fools reject correction and suffer the consequences of their wrong choices. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching, for they are a graceful garland for your head and pendants for your neck. Proverbs 1 verses 8-9. Wisdom begins at home. Parents are responsible for teaching their children. Learning from elders helps us avoid many mistakes. Obeying teachings brings honor and protection. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. Proverbs 1 verse 10. Bad influences can lead us astray. Sin often tempts, but its consequences are disastrous. For their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. For a net is spread in vain in the sight of any bird, but these men lie in wait for their own blood, they set an ambush for their own lives. Proverbs 1 verses 16-18. Those who follow evil paths reap suffering and destruction. The wicked eventually fall into their own traps. Injustice and evil always come at a price. Such are the ways of everyone who is greedy for unjust gain, its gain takes away the life of its owners. Proverbs 1 verse 19. Greed is a dangerous path to ruin. True prosperity comes from honesty and fairness. Wisdom cries aloud in the street, in the markets she raises her voice, at the head of the noisy street she cries out, at the entrance of the city gates she speaks. Proverbs 1 verses 20-21. God offers wisdom to everyone, but not everyone chooses to listen. Wisdom is not hidden, but readily available to those who seek it. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing and fools hate knowledge? Proverbs 1 verse 22. Rejecting wisdom leads to destruction. Fools ignore warnings and suffer the consequences. Because you ignored all my counsel and would have none of my reproof, I also will laugh at your calamity, I will mock when terror strikes you. Proverbs 1 verses 25-26. One day, those who scorn wisdom will seek it, but it may be too late. There is a time to learn and a time to reap the results of one's choices. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their way, and have their fill of their own devices. But whoever listens to me will dwell secure and will be at ease, without dread of disaster. Proverbs 1 verses 31 and 33. Each person reaps what they sow. Choosing foolishness brings suffering and destruction. But those who listen to wisdom will live in safety and peace. We have learned that wisdom teaches us to live wisely and justly. The fear of the Lord is the foundation of true knowledge. Parental teaching is crucial for a successful future. Bad company and greed lead to destruction. Wisdom is always available, but many ignore it. Those who reject wisdom will suffer the consequences. Those who pursue wisdom will obtain peace. Are we seeking God's wisdom or relying solely on our own understanding? Are we listening to sound advice or being influenced by the wrong people? Do we consider the fear of the Lord as the foundation of our decisions? Are we living wisely or ignoring the warnings of wisdom? But whoever listens to me will dwell secure and will be at ease, without dread of disaster. Proverbs 1 verse 33. The choice between wisdom and foolishness determines our destiny. So the question is, how do we apply God's wisdom to our daily decisions and avoid the path of foolishness? The path of wisdom and God's protection, Proverbs 2. Chapter 2 of Proverbs teaches us to diligently seek wisdom, for God protects those who walk in righteousness. This chapter warns of the dangers of wickedness and the allure of sin, affirming that true security is found only in following God's ways. My son, if you receive my words and treasure up my commandments with you, making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding, yes, if you call out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding, Proverbs 2 verses 1 to 6. The pursuit of wisdom begins with a heart willing to learn. Keeping God's commandments helps us become wise and protected. Listening to God's voice and applying what we learn is crucial. We must seek wisdom with zeal and dedication. Prayer and studying God's word are key to this process. Wisdom is more precious than any material wealth. The effort to attain it must surpass the desire for worldly things. True knowledge comes from God, and the fear of the Lord is the first step to attaining wisdom. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk in integrity, guarding the paths of justice and watching over the way of his saints. Then you will understand righteousness and justice and equity, every good path. Proverbs 2 verses 7 to 9. God's wisdom protects those who walk in righteousness. He is a shield to those who live with integrity. God guides and upholds those who follow his ways. Righteousness and justice are rewarded with protection and guidance. Wisdom helps us discern and act rightly. Those who seek God will understand what is right and good. For wisdom will come into your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will watch over you, understanding will guard you, delivering you from the way of evil, from men of perverted speech, who forsake the paths of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice in doing evil and delight in the perverseness of evil. Proverbs 2 verses 10 to 14. True wisdom transforms our hearts and brings peace. Discretion protects us from wrong and dangerous choices. Understanding helps us avoid traps. Wisdom helps us recognize dangerous people and paths. Many people use flattery to deceive and manipulate. Those who reject God's wisdom walk in darkness. They delight in doing evil and rejoice in perversity. We must avoid such people. So you will be delivered from the forbidden woman, from the adulteress with her smooth words, who forsakes the partner of her youth and forgets the covenant of her God. for her house sinks down to death, and her paths to the dead. None who go to her come back, nor do they regain the paths of life. Proverbs 2 verses 16 to 19. Sin often appears enticing and appealing. Flattery and sweet words can lead to destruction. Physical and emotional adultery is betrayal against God and the commitments we have made. Sin leads to destruction and separation from God's presence. Those who surrender to sin stray from the path of life and fellowship with God. So you will walk in the way of the good, and keep to the paths of the righteous. For the upright will abide in the land, and the blameless will remain in it, but the wicked will be cut off from the land, and the treacherous will be rooted out of it. Proverbs 2 verses 20 to 22. Wisdom keeps us on the right path with the righteous. The righteous will be established and upheld by God. Faithfulness to God ensures a secure future. But the wicked will have no secure future, for their choices separate them from God. We have learned that wisdom must be sought with dedication, for it is more precious than any wealth. God protects and guides those who walk in righteousness and integrity. Wisdom delivers us from bad influences and evil paths. Sin appears enticing, but it leads to destruction. Those who pursue wisdom will be established, but the wicked will lose everything. Are we seeking God's wisdom with the same intensity that we seek wealth and success? Are we careful to avoid bad influences and destructive paths? Do we believe that God will protect us as we follow His principles? Are we walking on the path of the righteous or surrendering to the allure of sin? For the Lord gives wisdom, from His mouth come knowledge and understanding. Proverbs 2 verse 6. We have learned that true security and prosperity come from following the path of wisdom and righteousness. The path of wisdom and God's protection. Proverbs 3. Chapter 3 of Proverbs teaches us the importance of trusting God and following His ways with humility and obedience. This chapter shows that wisdom brings blessings, protection, and longevity, while foolishness leads to destruction. My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments, for length of days and years of life and peace they will add to you. Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you, bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart. So you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man. Proverbs 3 verses 1 to 4. Wisdom begins with obedience to God. Keeping God's commandments brings long-term benefits. The path of righteousness helps us avoid unnecessary suffering. Kindness and faithfulness should be part of our character. Those who act with integrity will find favor with God and people. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6. True wisdom is trusting God, not just relying on our own logic. Trusting God helps us avoid the traps of self-sufficiency. In all our actions, submit to Him, and He will guide our path. When we put God first, He will guide us in the right direction. Divine wisdom always leads to the best path. Be not wise in your own eyes, fear the Lord, and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. Proverbs 3 verses 7 to 8. Pride hinders spiritual growth. Fearing God protects us from wrong paths. Trusting God brings not only spiritual peace but also physical and emotional health. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the firstfruits of all your produce, then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. Proverbs 3 verses 9 to 10. Generosity is an act of worship to God. Honoring God with our possessions demonstrates gratitude and trust in Him. Faithfulness in small things opens the door to abundance. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline or be weary of his reproof, for the Lord reproves him whom he loves, as a father the son in whom he delights. Proverbs 3 verses 11 to 12. God's correction is not punishment, but an act of love. Those who learn from discipline grow in wisdom. God disciplines us because he loves us. Discipline helps us become better. Blessed is the one who finds wisdom, and the one who gets understanding, for the gain from her is better than gain from silver and her profit better than gold. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. Proverbs 3 verses 13 to 14, 17. Wisdom brings happiness and fulfillment. Those who seek understanding find true treasure. The value of wisdom far exceeds any material wealth. Wisdom leads to a full and harmonious life. The Lord by wisdom founded the earth, by understanding he established the heavens. Proverbs 3 verse 19. God's creation reflects his infinite wisdom. Those who seek him find true knowledge. When you lie down, you will not be afraid, yes, you will lie down, and your sleep will be sweet. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in your power to do it. Proverbs 3 verses 24 and 27. Trusting God frees us from fear and anxiety. God's peace gives us restful sleep. Generosity and justice should be part of our daily lives. If we have the opportunity to help, we must act immediately. Do not plan evil against your neighbor, who dwells trustingly beside you. Proverbs 3 verse 29. Trust is an essential value in relationships. Deceiving others brings destruction and suffering. The wise will inherit honor, but fools get dishonor. Proverbs 3 verse 35. Wisdom leads to respect and recognition, while foolishness leads to shame and dishonor. We have learned that wisdom begins with obedience and fear of the Lord. Trusting God gives us guidance and security. Generosity opens the door to prosperity. God's discipline is evidence of his love for us. Wisdom brings peace, happiness, and protection. Doing good and living with integrity leads to respect. Are we fully trusting God or trying to handle everything on our own? Are we honoring God with our possessions and actions? Are we accepting God's discipline as an act of love and growth? Are we living wisely, peacefully, and generously? Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. Proverbs 3 verse 5. We have learned that a wise and righteous life brings peace, prosperity, and security. Now, a new question arises: how can we practice this trust in God and apply his wisdom in all our decisions? The path of wisdom and divine protection, Proverbs 4. Chapter 4 of Proverbs teaches us the importance of seeking wisdom and staying on the right path. This chapter shows that following God's teachings brings life and protection, while the path of the wicked leads to destruction. Hear, O sons, a father's instruction, and be attentive, that you may gain insight. Proverbs 4 verse 1. Wisdom is passed down from generation to generation. Learning from those with experience helps us avoid mistakes and suffering. For I give you good precepts, do not forsake my teaching. Proverbs 4 verse 2. God's teachings are the best guidance for life. Following his word keeps us on the right path. When I was a son with my father, tender, the only one in the sight of my mother, he taught me and said to me, let your heart hold fast my words, keep my commandments, and live. Proverbs 4 verses 3 to 4. Solomon reminds us that he also learned from his father, David. Wisdom is not innate but must be cultivated through teaching. Keeping God's teachings is the secret to a long and fulfilling life. Obeying divine wisdom helps us avoid many hardships. Get wisdom, get insight, do not forget, and do not turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will keep you, love her, and she will guard you. Proverbs 4 verses 5 to 6. Wisdom should be our priority in life. It gives us discernment to make the best decisions. Wisdom is like a shield against life's dangers. Those who value it find safety and peace. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, and whatever you get insight. Proverbs 4 verse 7. Nothing is more important than knowing and doing God's will. Insight helps us distinguish right from wrong. Prize her highly, and she will exalt you, she will honor you if you embrace her. She will place on your head a graceful garland, she will bestow on you a beautiful crown. Proverbs 4 verses 8 to 9. Those who value wisdom will be respected and recognized. Wisdom brings honor, recognition, and favor. Hear, my son, and accept my words, that the years of your life may be many. I have taught you the way of wisdom, I have led you in the paths of uprightness. Proverbs 4 verses 10 to 11. Obeying wisdom brings longevity and quality of life. God guides us on the right path, away from destruction. When you walk, your step will not be hampered, and if you run, you will not stumble. The path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day. But the way of the wicked is like deep darkness, they do not know over what they stumble. Proverbs 4:12, 18 to 19. Holding on to instruction keeps us on the right path. The path of the righteous always grows and is illuminated by God's presence. But the path of the wicked is like thick darkness, they do not know what makes them stumble. The wicked live in darkness and do not realize their own downfall. My son, be attentive to my words, incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not escape from your sight, keep them within your heart. For they are life to those who find them, and healing to all their flesh. Proverbs 4 verses 20 to 22. Listening to God's words brings understanding and protection, for they are life to those who find them and health to all their flesh. God's wisdom brings life and healing to both soul and body. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Proverbs 4 verse 23. The heart is the center of our decisions and emotions. If it is filled with God's wisdom, our life will be fruitful. Put away from you crooked speech, and put devious talk far from you. Proverbs 4 verse 24. Our words reflect the state of our hearts. We must speak truth and integrity. Let your eyes look directly forward, and your gaze be straight before you. Proverbs 4 verse 25. Keeping focused on the right path helps us avoid distractions and pitfalls. Ponder the path of your feet, then all your ways will be sure. Do not swerve to the right or to the left, turn your foot away from evil. Proverbs 4 verses 26 to 27. Every step must be guided by wisdom and caution. Walking in righteousness requires consistency and steadiness. Wisdom is a treasure to be sought and protected. The path of the righteous is safe and illuminated by God's presence. The heart is the source of life and must be guarded. Bad influences must be avoided at all costs. Pursuing God's wisdom brings honor, protection, and guidance. Are we valuing and seeking wisdom daily? Is our heart filled with God's word or by worldly influences? Are we walking steadily in righteousness or drifting towards dangerous shortcuts? Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Proverbs 4 verse 23. Wisdom and the danger of immorality, Proverbs 5. Chapter 5 of Proverbs teaches the importance of faithfulness and purity, warning of the dangers of immorality and the consequences of sin. This chapter shows that following God's principles brings life and protection, while surrendering to the allure of sin leads to destruction. My son, be attentive to my wisdom, incline your ear to my understanding, that you may keep discretion, and your lips may guard knowledge. Proverbs 5 verses 1-2. Wisdom protects us from traps and wrong decisions. Listening to God's voice gives us discernment to choose the right path. Wisdom is not just for hearing, but also for practicing. Those who pursue it find safety and peace. For the lips of a forbidden woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil, but in the end she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a double-edged sword. Proverbs 5 verses 3-4. Sin appears attractive and enticing. Immediate pleasure can hide destructive consequences, but in the end, it is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a double-edged sword. What seems sweet at first can become bitter in the end. The allure of sin leads to pain and regret. Her feet go down to death, her steps follow the path to Sheol, she does not ponder the path of life, her ways wander, and she does not know it. Proverbs 5 verses 5-6. The path of immorality leads to destruction and ruin. Sin leads to confusion and loss of discernment. Those who pursue immorality lose direction in life. And now, O sons, listen to me, and do not depart from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her, and do not go near the door of her house. Proverbs 5 verses 7-8. Wisdom calls us to be vigilant and not fall into error. The best way to avoid sin is to stay away from it. We should not expose ourselves to risky situations. Lest you give your honor to others and your years to the merciless, lest strangers take their fill of your strength, and your labors go to the house of a foreigner. Proverbs 5 verses 9-10. Immorality can rob us of our dignity and the best years of our lives. Sin steals the fruits of our labor and leads to financial and emotional ruin. And at the end of your life you groan, when your flesh and body are consumed, and you say, "How I hated discipline, and my heart despised reproof. I did not listen to the voice of my teachers or incline my ear to my instructors." Proverbs 5 verses 11-13. The consequences of sin are suffering and late regret. Many people only realize their mistakes when it is too late. Rejecting wisdom and good advice leads to destruction. Drink water from your own cistern, flowing water from your own well. Should your springs be scattered abroad, streams of water in the streets? Let them be for yourself alone, and not for strangers with you. Proverbs 5 verses 15-17. Satisfaction should be found in a legitimate relationship, not in unfaithfulness. Marriage should be valued and protected. Fidelity is a personal and non-negotiable commitment. The marital relationship should be nurtured with love and joy. Love and attraction should be preserved within marriage. Why should you be intoxicated, my son, with a forbidden woman and embrace the bosom of an adulteress? For a man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his paths. Proverbs 5 verses 20-21. Adultery and betrayal bring serious and destructive consequences. Nothing is hidden from God's eyes, he sees all our actions. His own iniquities will trap the wicked, and he will be held fast in the cords of his sin. He dies for lack of discipline, and because of his great folly he is led astray. Proverbs 5 verses 22-23. Sin enslaves and leads to destruction. Lack of discipline and rejection of wisdom leads to ruin. We have learned that wisdom protects us from the traps of immorality. Sin appears attractive, but its end is bitter and destructive. We must avoid temptation and avoid risky situations. Unfaithfulness robs dignity, possessions, and brings suffering. Marriage should be nurtured with fidelity and joy. God sees all paths and will execute justice for all actions. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, have given your pledge for a stranger, if you are snared in the words of your mouth, caught in the words of your mouth, Proverbs 6 verses 1-2. Becoming a guarantor or taking on debt for others can bring great risk. Hasty commitments can bind us and cause financial difficulties. Then do this, my son, and save yourself, for you have come into the hand of your neighbor. Go, hasten, and plead urgently with your neighbor. Give your eyes no sleep and your eyelids no slumber. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler. Proverbs 6 verses 3-5. If we have become entangled in unnecessary debts, we must quickly find a way out. Go to the ant, O sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise. Proverbs 6 verse 6. The ant teaches us the importance of work and planning. It has no commander, no overseer, or ruler, yet it prepares its food in summer and gathers its food in harvest. Diligence and preparation ensure security for the future. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? Proverbs 6 verse 9. Procrastination robs opportunities and leads to poverty. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. Proverbs 6 verses 10-11. Seeking comfort can lead to ruin and want. A worthless person, a wicked man, goes about with crooked speech, winks with his eyes, signals with his feet, points with his finger, with perverted heart devises evil, continually sowing discord. Proverbs 6 verses 12-14. Dishonest people spread evil and cause destruction. Body language and gestures can reveal deceptive intentions. Wickedness and dishonesty lead to ruin. Therefore calamity will come upon him suddenly, in a moment he will be broken beyond healing. Proverbs 6 verse 15. Wickedness may seem to thrive for a while, but eventually it brings calamity. There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. Proverbs 6 verses 16-19. There are behaviors that God abhors and that we must avoid. Pride, lies, and violence are abominable to God. Sin begins in the heart and manifests in actions. God hates hypocrisy and division. My son, keep your father's commandment, and forsake not your mother's teaching. Proverbs 6 verse 20. Parental teachings are invaluable and should be obeyed. Bind them on your heart always, tie them around your neck. When you walk, they will lead you, when you lie down, they will watch over you, and when you awake, they will talk with you. Proverbs 6 verses 21-22. God's word guides, protects, and strengthens us. For the commandment is a lamp and the teaching a light, and the reproofs of discipline are the way of life, to preserve you from the evil woman, from the smooth tongue of the adulteress. Proverbs 6 verses 23-24. Following divine principles keeps us on the right path. Allurements and lies lead to destruction. Do not desire her beauty in your heart, and do not let her capture you with her eyelashes, for a prostitute will reduce you to a loaf of bread, while an adulteress stalks a precious life. Proverbs 6 verses 25-26. Physical attraction should not blind us to the consequences of sin. Immorality can ruin a person's life. Can a man carry fire next to his chest and his clothes not be burned? Or can one walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? So is he who goes in to his neighbor's wife, none who touches her will go unpunished. Proverbs 6 verses 27 to 29. Playing with sin is a sure path to destruction. Adultery brings inevitable and devastating consequences. For jealousy makes a husband furious, and he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will accept no compensation, he will refuse gifts however many you give. Proverbs 6 verses 34 to 35. Adultery can ignite wrath and destruction. We have learned that. Avoid risky financial commitments and seek wisdom in decision-making. Be diligent and avoid laziness, for it leads to poverty. Stay away from wickedness and dishonesty, for God abhors such actions. Keep teachings and obey God's commandments, for they bring light and guidance. Avoid immorality and adultery, for their consequences are devastating. Are we prudent in our financial commitments? Are we diligent in work or falling into laziness? Are we avoiding attitudes that God abhors? Are we protecting our lives from immorality and sin? For the commandment is a lamp and a teaching a light, and the reproofs of discipline are the way of life. Proverbs 6 verse 23. The danger of seduction and the importance of wisdom, Proverbs 7. Chapter 7 of Proverbs warns us of the dangers of immorality and seduction, showing how wisdom can protect us from the snares of sin. This chapter teaches that uncontrolled desire and lack of discernment can lead to ruin, but those who keep God's commandments find safety and a full life. My son, keep my words and treasure up my commandments with you, Proverbs 7 verse 1. Wisdom is not just heard, but must be kept in the heart. When we internalize God's teachings, we gain strength to resist sin. Keep my commandments and live. Keep my teaching as the apple of your eye, Proverbs 7 verse 2. Obeying God's commandments is a source of life and protection. Bind them on your fingers, write them on the tablet of your heart. Proverbs 7 verse 3. Wisdom must always be before our eyes, guiding our decisions. Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and call insight your intimate friend, to keep you from the forbidden woman, from the adulteress with her smooth words. Proverbs 7 verses 4 to 5. Seduction often begins with pleasant and deceptive words. For at the window of my house I have looked out through my lattice, and I have seen among the simple, I have perceived among the youths, a young man lacking sense, Proverbs 7 verses 6 to 7. Solomon observes and describes the behavior of a young man falling into temptation. Lack of discernment makes one easily deceived. Passing along the street near her corner, and going the way to her house, in the twilight, in the evening, at the time of night and darkness. Proverbs 7 verses 8 to 9. The young man recklessly puts himself in a dangerous situation by approaching danger at twilight, when day ends and the darkness of night falls. Darkness symbolizes sin and lack of discernment. And behold, the woman meets him, dressed as a prostitute, wily of heart. She is loud and wayward, her feet do not stay at home, now in the street, now in the market, and at every corner she lies in wait. Proverbs 7 verses 10 to 12. Temptation presents itself as attractive but hides deceptive intentions. Sin is relentless and constantly seeks new victims. She seizes him and kisses him, and with impudent face she says to him, Proverbs 7 verse 13. Seduction is aggressive and manipulative. I had to offer sacrifices of peace offerings, and today I have paid my vows, therefore I have come out to meet you, to seek you eagerly, and I have found you. Proverbs 7 verses 14 to 15. The woman tries to justify her actions with a facade of piety. Come, let us take our fill of love till morning, let us delight ourselves in love. Proverbs 7 verse 18. Momentary pleasure hides its destructive consequences. For my husband is not at home, he has gone on a long journey, he took a bag of money with him, and will come home at the full moon. Proverbs 7 verses 19 to 20. A false sense of impunity encourages sin. With much seductive speech she persuades him, with her smooth talk she compels him. All at once he follows her, as an ox goes to the slaughter, or a stag is caught fast till an arrow pierces its liver, as a bird rushes into a snare, he does not know that it will cost him his life. Proverbs 7 verses 21 to 23. Sin conquers through seduction and deception. The young man blindly follows his own destruction. Sin always demands a higher price than expected. And now, O sons, listen to me, and be attentive to the words of my mouth. Let your heart not turn aside to her ways, do not stray into her paths. Proverbs 7 verses 24 to 25. God calls us to be vigilant and wise. The first step to avoiding sin is not to nourish wrong desires. For many a victim has she laid low, and all her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is the way to Sheol, going down to the chambers of death. Proverbs 7 verses 26 to 27. Sin has ruined countless lives throughout history. The ultimate destination of sin is separation from God and spiritual death. We have learned that wisdom must be kept in the heart to protect us from sin. The seduction of sin presents itself as desirable, but its consequences are devastating. The young man recklessly puts himself in dangerous situations and is ultimately deceived. Sin always tries to justify itself and appear harmless. Those who surrender to temptation are on a path to destruction. We must be vigilant and avoid any involvement with immorality. Are we keeping God's wisdom in our hearts? Are we vigilant to avoid the paths of seduction and sin? Do we recognize that momentary pleasure can lead to destruction? Are we seeking holiness and avoiding risky situations? Let your heart not turn aside to her ways, do not stray into her paths. Proverbs 7 verse 25. We have learned that vigilance and wisdom are essential to keep ourselves pure and faithful to God. The call of wisdom, Proverbs 8. Chapter 8 of Proverbs presents the voice of wisdom crying out, granting life, justice, and insight. This chapter teaches that wisdom is an unparalleled treasure, greater than any wealth, and was established by God from the beginning. Those who seek it find life, protection, and God's favor. Does not wisdom call? Does not understanding raise her voice? On the heights beside the way, at the crossroads she takes her stand, beside the gates in front of the town, at the entrance of the portals she cries aloud. Proverbs 8 verses 1 to 3. Wisdom is not hidden, it clearly reveals itself to those willing to listen. Wisdom appears at the crossroads, calling us to follow the right path. Wisdom is accessible to everyone, but not everyone chooses to follow it. To you, O men, I call, and my cry is to the children of man. O simple ones, learn to understand prudence, and O fools, learn sense. Proverbs 8 verses 4 to 5. God wants everyone to hear and follow wisdom. The inexperienced and foolish are called to learn and change their ways. Hear, for I will speak noble things, and from my lips will come what is right, for my mouth will utter truth, wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are righteous, there is nothing twisted or crooked in them. They are all straight to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Proverbs 8 verses 6 to 9. The words of wisdom are just and true. Wisdom always aligns with justice and truth. Wisdom is pure, straightforward, and trustworthy. Those with understanding recognize the righteousness of wisdom. Take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold, for wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. Proverbs 8 verses 10-11. Knowledge and wisdom are more valuable than any material wealth. Nothing in life is more valuable than God's wisdom. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and I find knowledge and discretion. The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Pride and arrogance and the way of evil and perverted speech I hate. Proverbs 8 verses 12-13. Wisdom goes hand in hand with prudence and good advice. Those who love wisdom avoid evil and pride. The Lord created me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts of old. Wisdom existed before the world was created, before the mountains were shaped, before the hills were born. Wisdom is eternal and part of God's nature. When he established the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep, wisdom was present in the creation of all things. Then I was beside him, like a master workman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing before him always. Wisdom is the foundation of all that God created. And now, O sons, listen to me, blessed are those who keep my ways. Hear instruction and be wise, and do not neglect it. Blessed is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting beside my doors. For whoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. But he who fails to find me injures himself, all who hate me love death. Proverbs 8 verses 32-36. Those who pursue wisdom are blessed. Listen to my instruction and be wise, do not neglect it. Wisdom must be sought daily, for whoever finds me finds life and receives favor from the Lord. Wisdom leads us to true life and God's favor. But he who fails to find me injures himself. All who hate me love death. Rejecting wisdom is choosing the path of destruction. Wisdom calls our attention and is available to everyone. The teachings of wisdom are just and true. Nothing is more precious than wisdom, not silver or gold or wealth. Wisdom has existed since creation and is part of God's nature. Pursuing wisdom leads to life, but rejecting it leads to destruction. Are we listening to wisdom or only pursuing our own desires? Are we seeking knowledge and discernment daily? Do we recognize that wisdom comes from God and leads to an abundant life? For whoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. Proverbs 8 verse 35. We have learned that God's wisdom is essential for a full and righteous life. The invitation of wisdom and folly, Proverbs 9. Chapter 9 of Proverbs presents two opposing invitations, the call of wisdom, which leads to life, and the call of folly, which leads to destruction. This chapter teaches that the choice between wisdom and foolishness will determine our destiny. Wisdom has built her house, she has hewn her 7 pillars. She has prepared her meat, mixed her wine, and also set her table. She has sent out her young women, crying from the highest places in the town, whoever is simple, let him turn in here. To him who lacks sense she says, come, eat of my bread and drink of the wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways, and live, and walk in the way of understanding. Proverbs 9 verses 1-6. Wisdom is solidly built, with good structure and foundation. The 7 pillars symbolize perfection and completeness. Wisdom has prepared a sumptuous feast and is ready to welcome those who desire to learn. Wisdom is not hidden, it calls out to all who are willing to receive. Wisdom is available to the humble, to those who recognize their need to learn. Those who accept wisdom's invitation will be nourished and strengthened. Choosing wisdom brings life, rejecting it leads to death. Whoever corrects a scoffer gets himself abuse, and he who reproves a wicked man incurs injury. Do not reprove a scoffer, or he will hate you. Reprove a wise man, and he will love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. For by me your days will be multiplied, and years will be added to your life. If you are wise for yourself. If you scoff, you alone will bear it. Proverbs 9 verses 7 to 12. Not everyone is willing to hear the truth. Scoffers despise correction. The wise accept correction and grow from it, the foolish reject it and become angry. The wise are always willing to learn and develop. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Without him, all knowledge is empty. Wisdom brings a long and prosperous life. Each person reaps the consequences of their choices, good or bad. The woman of folly is loud, she is seductive and knows nothing. She sits at the door of her house, she calls to those who pass by, who are going straight on their paths. Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. And to him who lacks sense she says, stolen water is sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But he does not know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of Sheol. Proverbs 9 verses 13 to 18. Folly is loud and impulsive. Like wisdom, folly also makes an invitation, but its path is deceit. Folly tries to entice those who are going the right way. Those called by wisdom are also called by folly, the decision is up to each person. Sin seems pleasant at first, but it leads to destruction. The path of folly leads to death and separation from God. Wisdom and folly both extend invitations, it's up to us to choose. Wisdom is strong, structured, and leads to life. The wise accept correction and grow, the foolish reject it and suffer the consequences. The fear of the Lord is the foundation of true wisdom. Folly seems pleasant at first, but it leads to destruction. Are we choosing the path of wisdom or the path of folly? Are we accepting correction and seeking growth, or refusing to learn? Are we living in the fear of the Lord and seeking his understanding? Are we vigilant against the deception of folly and sin? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. Proverbs 9 verse 10. We have learned that the choice between wisdom and folly will shape our future and our relationship with God. The way of the righteous and the wicked, Proverbs 10. Chapter 10 of Proverbs marks the beginning of a series of short and practical sayings, contrasting the way of the righteous and the wicked. Chapter 10 of Proverbs begins a series of short and practical sayings, comparing the way of the righteous and the wicked. This chapter teaches us that wisdom and righteousness bring blessings and protection, while foolishness and sin lead to destruction. A wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish son is a sorrow to his mother. Proverbs 10 verse 1. Wisdom brings joy and honor to the family, while foolishness causes suffering. Treasures gained by wickedness do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. Proverbs 10 verse 2. Wealth gained dishonestly does not bring security, only righteousness truly protects. The Lord does not let the righteous go hungry, but he thwarts the craving of the wicked. Proverbs 10 verse 3. God provides for the righteous but thwarts the plans of the wicked. A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. Proverbs 10 verse 4. Laziness leads to poverty, while hard work brings prosperity. He who gathers in summer is a prudent son, but he who sleeps in harvest is a son who brings shame. Proverbs 10 verse 5. Wisdom lies in acting at the right time and not wasting opportunities. Blessings are on the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. Proverbs 10 verse 6. The righteous are remembered for their good deeds, while the wicked suffer the consequences of their violent words. The memory of the righteous is a blessing, but the name of the wicked will rot. Proverbs 10 verse 7. The legacy of the righteous endures, but the wicked are forgotten or despised. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out. Proverbs 10 verse 9. Integrity brings security, while dishonesty is exposed. The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. Proverbs 10 verse 11. The words of the righteous bring life, while the words of the wicked bring destruction. When words are many, transgression is not lacking, but whoever restrains his lips is prudent. Proverbs 10 verse 19. Speaking too much can lead to sin, wisdom lies in self-control. The tongue of the righteous is choice silver, the heart of the wicked is of little worth. Proverbs 10 verse 20. Wise words are precious, while the words of the wicked are worthless. The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. Proverbs 10 verse 22. God's blessing brings true prosperity without burden or sin. When the tempest passes, the wicked is no more, but the righteous is established forever. Proverbs 10 verse 25. The wicked are swept away by adversity, but the righteous stand firm. The fear of the Lord prolongs life, but the years of the wicked will be short. Proverbs 10 verse 27. The fear of the Lord lengthens life, while wickedness leads to destruction. The hope of the righteous brings joy, but the expectation of the wicked will perish. Proverbs 10 verse 28. The righteous live with hope, while the wicked end in disappointment. The way of the Lord is a stronghold to the blameless, but destruction to evildoers. Proverbs 10 verse 29. Those who walk with God find strength and security. The righteous will never be moved, but the wicked will not dwell in the land. Proverbs 10 verse 30. The righteous are established by God, but the wicked will lose everything. The mouth of the righteous brings forth wisdom, but the perverse tongue will be cut off. Proverbs 10 verse 31. The wisdom of the righteous endures, while the wicked will be silenced. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked knows perverseness. Proverbs 10 verse 32. The righteous speak words of edification, the wicked spread destruction. We have learned that wisdom brings blessings and security, while foolishness causes suffering. Hard work leads to success, while laziness leads to ruin. Words have great power, the righteous speak life, the wicked speak destruction. Integrity brings protection, but dishonesty will be exposed. God's blessing is real and brings no sorrow. The fear of the Lord prolongs life, but the wicked will face destruction. Are we choosing righteousness and integrity in our daily actions? Are our words a source of life or destruction? Are we working diligently or falling into the trap of laziness? Are we seeking true prosperity that comes from God's blessing? The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. Proverbs 10 verse 22. We have learned that righteousness, the fear of the Lord, and diligence are the keys to a blessed and secure life. The reward of the righteous and the destruction of the wicked, Proverbs 11. Chapter 11 of Proverbs continues to compare the way of the righteous with the way of the wicked, showing that integrity brings blessings and protection, while dishonesty and pride lead to destruction. This chapter also emphasizes the power of words, the importance of generosity, and the reward of righteousness. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Proverbs 11 verse 1. God abhors dishonesty in business and in life, but he delights in integrity. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom. Proverbs 11 verse 2. Pride leads to downfall, while humility brings understanding. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the crookedness of the treacherous destroys them. Proverbs 11 verse 3. Those who walk in truth have guidance and security, while the wicked will fall into their own traps. Riches do not profit in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. Proverbs 11 verse 4. Money cannot save anyone on the day of final judgment, but righteousness can lead to deliverance. The righteousness of the blameless keeps his way straight, but the wicked falls by his own wickedness. Proverbs 11 verse 5. Justice strengthens and guides, but deceit leads to destruction. The righteousness of the upright delivers them, but the treacherous are caught by their own greed. A merciful man does himself good, but the cruel man does himself harm. Proverbs 11 verse 17. Those who do good will be rewarded, while those who practice evil will suffer the consequences. Whoever brings blessing will be enriched, and one who waters will himself be watered. Proverbs 11 verse 25. Generosity leads to prosperity, while greed leads to want. Those who help others will receive help from God. He who withholds grain is cursed by the people, but a blessing is on the head of him who sells it. Proverbs 11 verse 26. Honesty and generosity in business bring respect and honor. Whoever diligently seeks good finds favor, but evil comes to him who searches for it. Proverbs 11 verse 27. Those who seek righteousness are rewarded, while those who pursue wickedness will be consumed by it. Whoever trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like a green leaf. Proverbs 11 verse 28. Relying on material wealth is foolish, but righteousness is eternal. Whoever troubles his own household will inherit the wind, and the fool will be servant to the wise of heart. Proverbs 11 verse 29. One foolishness destroys families and leads to failure. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and whoever captures souls is wise. Proverbs 11 verse 30. The righteous have a positive influence on others and bring lasting results. If the righteous is repaid on earth, how much more the wicked and the sinner? Proverbs 11 verse 31. If even the righteous experience trials, how much greater the judgment that the wicked and sinners will face. God delights in honesty and integrity, but hates hypocrisy and corruption. Pride leads to downfall, while humility brings wisdom. Words have great power, the righteous use them to build up, while the wicked use them to destroy. Generosity brings blessings, but greed leads to destruction. The righteous are strong and bear fruit, while the wicked reap destruction. Are we acting with honesty and integrity in our daily lives and business dealings? Do our words bring life or cause harm? Are we generous and trusting in God's provision, or are we selfish and greedy? Are we seeking good and influencing others towards righteousness? The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and whoever captures souls is wise. Proverbs 11 verse 30. Proverbs 11 teaches us that righteousness, generosity, and integrity are rewarded, while pride, greed, and wickedness lead to destruction. Understanding these truths helps us navigate life wisely and purposefully, ensuring that we build a legacy that honors God. The reward of the righteous and the destruction of the foolish, Proverbs 12. Chapter 12 of Proverbs continues to compare the way of the righteous and the wicked, emphasizing the value of discipline, diligence, and integrity. This chapter teaches that those who choose wisdom will prosper, while the foolish reap destruction. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid. Proverbs 12 verse 1. Accepting correction is a sign of wisdom, while rejecting it is an act of foolishness. A good man obtains favor from the Lord, but a man of evil devices he condemns. Proverbs 12 verse 2. God rewards good but punishes those who practice evil. No one is established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous will never be moved. Proverbs 12 verse 3. Righteousness is a firm foundation, while wickedness lacks stability. An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who brings shame is like rottenness in his bones. Proverbs 12 verse 4. A wise one and virtuous wife builds her home and strengthens her husband, but a foolish wife can destroy it with her actions. The thoughts of the righteous are just, the counsels of the wicked are deceitful. Proverbs 12 verse 5. The righteous act with integrity, but the wicked are full of deception. The words of the wicked lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright delivers them. Proverbs 12 verse 6. The wicked are overthrown and are no more, but the house of the righteous will stand. Righteousness has a lasting foundation, but wickedness cannot stand the test of time. Better to be lowly and have a servant than to play the great man and lack bread. Proverbs 12 verse 9. Humility and hard work are much more valuable than pride and empty vanity. The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. Proverbs 12 verse 10. The words of the righteous bring life and build up, while the words of the wicked cause destruction. There is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Proverbs 12 verse 18. Words have the power to harm or heal, and wisdom knows how to use them appropriately. Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Proverbs 12 verse 19. Truth prevails, but lies are temporary and bring consequences. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. Proverbs 12 verse 24. Hard work and diligence lead to prosperity, but laziness brings nothing. The diligent will rule, but the slothful will be put to forced labor. Discipline leads to success, while carelessness leads to servitude. Whoever is slothful will not catch his prey, but the diligent man will get precious wealth. Proverbs 12 verse 27. Laziness wastes opportunities, while the diligent make the most of them. In the path of righteousness is life, and in its pathway there is no death. Proverbs 12 verse 28. Walking in righteousness leads to life and peace. Are we accepting correction and striving to grow in wisdom? Are we diligent and responsible in our work? Do our words build up or tear down lives? Are we following the path of righteousness and truth, or are we allowing laziness and deceit to take hold? In the path of righteousness is life, and in its pathway there is no death. Proverbs 12 verse 28. We have seen that righteousness, diligence, and the careful use of words are the keys to a prosperous and secure life. The way of wisdom and the consequences of folly, Proverbs 13. Chapter 13 of Proverbs continues to compare the lives of the wise and the foolish, showing that discipline leads to success, while laziness and rebellion bring destruction. This chapter teaches that words, choices, and diligence determine a person's future. A wise son hears his father's instruction, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. Proverbs 13 verse 1. Wisdom begins with a willingness to learn and accept discipline. From the fruit of his mouth a man eats what is good, but the desire of the treacherous is for violence. Proverbs 13 verse 2. Words have great power, and those who control them avoid many problems. Okay, let's continue exploring the wisdom in Proverbs. Poverty and disgrace come to him who ignores instruction, but whoever heeds reproof is honored. Proverbs 13 verse 18. Accepting discipline leads to growth and honor, while rejecting it leads to failure. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. Proverbs 13 verse 4. Desiring without action leads to nowhere, but effort produces results. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Proverbs 13 verse 11. Easy money disappears quickly, but wealth earned through hard work grows. The righteous has enough to satisfy his appetite, but the wicked goes hungry. Proverbs 13 verse 25. Those who live with integrity will prosper, while those who pursue sin will suffer want. Whoever keeps his mouth preserves his life, he who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. Proverbs 13 verse 3. Words can protect or destroy a person, so we must use them wisely. The teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, that one may turn away from the snares of death. Proverbs 13 verse 14. Foolishness invites discipline, but wisdom brings safety. The teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, that one may turn away from the snares of death. Proverbs 13 verse 14. Wise words lead to life and keep one from danger. Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Proverbs 13 verse 20. The people we associate with shape our character and influence our future. The righteous hates falsehood, but the wicked brings shame and disgrace. Proverbs 13 verse 5. Truth strengthens the righteous, while the wicked live in chaos. Whoever is righteous has regard for the life of his beast, but the mercy of the wicked is cruel. Proverbs 12 verse 10. Compassion and kindness are signs of the righteous. Disaster pursues the sinner, but the righteous is rewarded with good. Proverbs 13 verse 21. Those who do evil bring destruction upon themselves, while those who live righteously receive rewards. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. Proverbs 13 verse 22. The righteous leave a lasting legacy, but the wealth of the wicked does not endure. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. Proverbs 13 verse 12. Waiting for something and not seeing it happen can bring discouragement, but when a promise is fulfilled, it brings joy and new life. Whoever despises the word brings destruction on himself, but he who reveres the commandment will be rewarded. Proverbs 13 verse 13. Obeying God brings blessings, but ignoring his principles leads to destruction. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, that one may turn away from the snares of death. Proverbs 13 verse 14. Reverence for God is the key to a full and secure life. Are we accepting correction and striving to grow in wisdom? Are we diligent and responsible in our work? Do our words build up others or tear them down? Do we choose friendships that draw us closer to God? Are we living with reverence and obedience to God? The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, that one may turn away from the snares of death. Proverbs 13 verse 14. We have seen that wisdom, righteousness, and the fear of the Lord lead to true prosperity and security. Wisdom builds, folly destroys. Proverbs 14. Chapter 14 of Proverbs continues to compare the way of wisdom and righteousness with the way of folly and wickedness. This chapter teaches that wisdom builds lives and families, while folly leads to destruction. This chapter also emphasizes the importance of fearing God, living with integrity, and practicing self-control. The wisest of women builds her house, but folly with her own hands tears it down. Proverbs 14 verse 1. Wisdom strengthens families, but recklessness can destroy them. Whoever walks in uprightness fears the Lord, but he who is devious in his ways despises him. Proverbs 14 verse 2. The fear of the Lord leads to righteousness, while wickedness disregards God's ways. By the mouth of a fool comes a rod for his back, but the lips of the wise will preserve them. Proverbs 14 verse 3. What we say has power, wisdom protects, but foolishness leads to downfall. Where there are no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come by the strength of the ox. Proverbs 14 verse 4. Hard work leads to prosperity, but laziness brings lack. A faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness breathes out lies. Proverbs 14 verse 5. Honesty strengthens and brings honor, while deception destroys credibility. A scoffer seeks wisdom in vain, but knowledge is easy for a man of understanding. Proverbs 14 verse 6. The arrogant struggle to learn, while the humble learn easily. Leave the presence of a fool, for there you do not meet words of knowledge. Proverbs 14 verse 7. Avoid negative influences and seek out friends who encourage wisdom. The wisdom of the prudent is to discern his way, but the folly of fools is deceiving. Proverbs 14 verse 8. Wisdom leads to insight, but fools are trapped by their own choices. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death. Proverbs 14 verse 12. Not everything that seems right is actually so, we must seek God's guidance. Even in laughter the heart may ache, and the end of joy may be grief. Proverbs 14 verse 13. Not all happiness is real, we must guard our hearts. The simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thought to his steps. Proverbs 14 verse 15. We must be discerning and cautious, not believing everything blindly. Great! Let's explore the profound lessons from Proverbs together. The simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thought to his steps. Proverbs 14 verse 15. We should not believe everything we hear, but carefully evaluate what is true. A hot-tempered man acts foolishly, but a man of discretion is patient. Proverbs 14 verse 17. Uncontrolled anger leads to reckless decisions, while patience is a sign of wisdom. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, that one may turn away from the snares of death. Proverbs 14 verse 27. Reverence and fear of God are the keys to a safe and fulfilling life. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. Proverbs 14 verse 34. Integrity strengthens society, while sin leads to downfall. Wisdom builds families and strengthens lives, but foolishness destroys everything around it. Hard work and honesty bring prosperity and honor. Words have a great impact, we must use them wisely. Patience and discernment protect us from many traps. The fear of God leads to life, while sin leads to destruction. Are we building our lives and families on wisdom or foolishness? Do our words build up or tear down? Are we seeking the fear of the Lord to guide our decisions? Do we practice patience and discernment in our choices? The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, that one may turn away from the snares of death. Proverbs 14 verse 27. We see that wisdom protects, strengthens, and leads us on the right path, while foolishness leads to destruction. The power of words and the way of wisdom, Proverbs 15. Chapter 15 of Proverbs emphasizes the impact of words, the importance of humility, and the value of fearing God. This chapter teaches that wisdom leads to life and peace, while foolishness brings destruction and sorrow. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Proverbs 15 verse 1. How we respond can either soothe or escalate conflict. The tongue of the wise makes good use of knowledge, but the mouth of fools pours out folly. Proverbs 15 verse 2. Wise words teach and build up, but the words of the foolish are empty and reckless. A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks the spirit. Proverbs 15 verse 4. Words can heal and strengthen, but they can also cause deep wounds. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, keeping watch on the evil and the good. Proverbs 15 verse 3. Nothing escapes God's sight, he sees all and judges fairly. The Lord is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayer of the righteous. Proverbs 15 verse 29. God delights in the righteous and answers their prayers. A scoffer does not like to be reproved, he will not go to the wise. Proverbs 15 verse 12. The foolish reject discipline, but the wise welcome it for growth. The fear of the Lord is instruction in wisdom, and humility comes before honor. Proverbs 15 verse 33. True wisdom begins with reverence for God and requires a humble heart. A glad heart makes a cheerful face, but by sorrow of heart the spirit is crushed. Proverbs 15 verse 13. Inner joy is reflected outwardly, while sadness weighs down the soul. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a fattened ox and hatred with it. Proverbs 15 verse 17. Love and peace are more valuable than wealth without harmony. Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble with it. Proverbs 15 verse 16. God's presence brings more fulfillment than wealth without peace. The way of the sluggard is like a hedge of thorns, but the path of the upright is a highway. Proverbs 15 verse 19. Laziness makes life difficult, while diligence opens the way. The Lord tears down the house of the proud but maintains the widow's boundaries. Proverbs 15 verse 25. The righteous prosper, while the wicked face destruction. Words have power, we must use them to build up, not to tear down. God sees all our actions and rewards the righteous. Accepting correction and maintaining humility are signs of true wisdom. Joy and inner peace are more valuable than material wealth. Diligence and righteousness lead to prosperity, while laziness and wickedness bring destruction. Are we using our words to build up or destroy? Are we accepting correction with humility or rejecting it with pride? Are we seeking joy and peace in God or pursuing fleeting things? Are we living diligently and righteously or following the path of laziness and sin? The fear of the Lord is instruction in wisdom, and humility comes before honor. Proverbs 15 verse 33. We learn that wisdom leads to a life of peace, joy, and prosperity, while foolishness leads to destruction. Human plans and God's sovereignty, Proverbs 16. Chapter 16 of Proverbs teaches about the importance of trusting in God's sovereignty, recognizing that He guides the path of the righteous and weighs every heart. This chapter also emphasizes the value of humility, justice, and self-control, showing that human plans only prosper when aligned with God's will. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Proverbs 16 verse 9. We can set our goals, but the final word always belongs to God. All the ways of a man are pure in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the spirit. Proverbs 16 verse 2. Our intentions may seem right to us, but God looks beyond appearances and examines the heart. Commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established. Proverbs 16 verse 3. When we surrender our plans to God, He brings clarity and success. Great, let's continue exploring the gems in Proverbs. Gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body. Proverbs 16 verse 24. Kind words bring healing and encouragement. A dishonest man spreads strife, and a whisperer separates close friends. Proverbs 16 verse 28. Slander destroys relationships and should be avoided. Whoever keeps his mouth preserves his life, he who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. Proverbs 13 verse 3. Controlling our speech protects us from many troubles. Whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. Proverbs 16 verse 32. True strength lies in self-control, not physical power. The lot is cast into the lap, but its every decision is from the Lord. Proverbs 16 verse 33. Even things that seem random are within God's control. God is sovereign and guides the plans of the righteous. Justice and honesty bring security and prosperity. Humility comes before honor, while pride leads to downfall. Kind words have great power, but gossip and pride cause destruction. Self-control is more valuable than physical strength. Are we surrendering our plans to God or only following our own will? Is our life marked by justice and honesty? Are we cultivating humility or has pride taken root in our hearts? Are we using our words to build up others or tear them down? Are we seeking the true strength that comes from wisdom and self-control? Commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established. Proverbs 16 verse 3. We learn that true wisdom and prosperity come from trusting God, walking in justice, and practicing self-control. Wisdom in relationships and the value of peace, Proverbs 17. Chapter 17 of Proverbs emphasizes the importance of peace, justice, and wisdom in relationships. This chapter teaches that character is more valuable than wealth, self-control prevents conflict, and words should be used carefully. A wise heart promotes harmony, while foolishness brings destruction. Better is a dry morsel with peace than a house full of feasting with strife. Proverbs 17 verse 1. Peace is more valuable than wealth gained without harmony. Whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends. Proverbs 17 verse 9. Forgiveness strengthens relationships, but dwelling on past mistakes destroys friendships. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Proverbs 17 verse 17. True friends remain loyal in all situations. Whoever mocks the poor insults his maker, he who is glad at calamity will not go unpunished. Proverbs 17 verse 5. God delights in justice and compassion but condemns heartlessness. He who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous are both alike an abomination to the Lord. Proverbs 17 verse 15. Fairness and integrity are essential in God's sight. Whoever restrains his words has knowledge, and he who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding. Proverbs 17 verse 27. Speaking less and listening more are signs of wisdom. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise, when he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent. Proverbs 17 verse 28. Silence can prevent many problems and even convey wisdom. A joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Proverbs 17 verse 22. Joy strengthens health, while prolonged sadness weakens the body. A foolish son is a grief to his father and bitterness to her who bore him. Proverbs 17 verse 25. Foolishness brings suffering to the whole family. Peace and harmony are more valuable than wealth. Justice and fairness are essential in God's sight. Self-control and silence prevent many problems. Joy strengthens life, while sadness weakens. Healthy relationships are built on forgiveness and loyalty. Are we cultivating peace and harmony in our relationships? Do our words build up or tear down? Are we practicing justice and showing compassion? Are we seeking the wisdom to speak less and listen more? A joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Proverbs 17 verse 22. We learn that wisdom teaches us to cherish peace, justice, and joy in our lives. The power of words and the pursuit of wisdom, Proverbs 18. Chapter 18 of Proverbs emphasizes the impact of words, the importance of wisdom, and the value of human relationships. This chapter teaches that the tongue can bring life or destruction, pride leads to isolation, and prudence strengthens one's life. Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire, he breaks out against all sound judgment. Proverbs 18 verse 1. Those who shun wise counsel often act selfishly. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. Proverbs 18 verse 2. The foolish are not interested in learning, they only want to voice their opinions. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. Proverbs 18 verse 21. Words have the power to build up or destroy lives. If one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame. Proverbs 18 verse 13. Judging a matter without understanding it is a sign of foolishness. A man's spirit will endure sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? Proverbs 18 verse 14. Inner strength helps overcome difficulties, but a hopeless heart becomes weak. An intelligent heart acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. Proverbs 18 verse 15. The wise are always learning and seeking understanding. A man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great people. Proverbs 18 verse 16. Generosity and skill open doors of opportunity and lead to favor. Great! Let's continue our journey of discovering wisdom in Proverbs. There are friends who pretend to be friends, and there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Proverbs 18 verse 24. The quality of friendship is more important than quantity. A brother offended is more intractable than a strong city, and contentions are like the bars of a castle. Proverbs 18 verse 19. Disputes can build strong walls between people, making reconciliation difficult but necessary. Isolation hinders wisdom and growth. Words have a powerful impact, and we must use them responsibly. Prudence and the continuous pursuit of learning strengthen lives. Healthy relationships require care and reconciliation. True friendship is rare and precious. Are we seeking wisdom or insisting on our own opinions? Are we using our words to build up or tear down? Are we cultivating healthy relationships and seeking reconciliation when necessary? Are we surrounding ourselves with loyal and wise friends? Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. Proverbs 18 verse 21. We learn that how we speak, act, and choose friends directly shapes our lives. Wisdom in life and the path of justice, Proverbs 19. Chapter 19 of Proverbs teaches about the importance of integrity, patience, and prudence, showing that wisdom protects and leads to prosperity, while foolishness leads to destruction. This chapter warns about the consequences of poor choices and the necessity of fearing God. Better is a poor person who walks in his integrity than one who is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Proverbs 19 verse 1. Honesty and character are more valuable than material wealth. Wealth brings many new friends, but a poor man is deserted by his friend. Proverbs 19 verse 4. People are often attracted to money, but true friendship is revealed in adversity. When a man's folly brings his way to ruin, his heart rages against the Lord. Proverbs 19 verse 3. Many create their own problems and then blame God for the consequences. Whoever gets sense loves his own soul, he who keeps understanding will discover good. Proverbs 19 verse 8. Wisdom protects and leads to success. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will perish. Proverbs 19 verse 5. Lies always bring negative consequences. Discipline your son, for there is hope, and do not set your heart on putting him to death. Proverbs 19 verse 18. Discipline in childhood is essential for shaping strong character, but it must always be balanced with love. Good sense makes one slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook an offense. Proverbs 19 verse 11. Patience prevents conflict and demonstrates strength of character. The sluggard buries his hand in the dish and will not even bring it back to his mouth. Proverbs 19 verse 24. Laziness leads to stagnation and poverty. The fear of the Lord leads to life, and whoever has it rests satisfied, he will not be visited by calamity. Proverbs 19 verse 23. Those who fear God find protection, satisfaction, and security. Integrity is more valuable than wealth and influence. Prudence protects us from many problems. Patience and self-control prevent unnecessary conflicts. Discipline is essential for growth and success. The fear of God leads to a full and secure life. Are we valuing integrity over material wealth? Are we cultivating patience and self-control? Are we seeking wisdom to avoid problems? Are we living in the fear of God and following His ways? The fear of the Lord leads to life, and whoever has it rests satisfied, he will not be visited by calamity. Proverbs 19 verse 23. We learn that integrity, patience, and reverence for God are the foundations of a blessed and secure life. Wisdom in life and the importance of integrity, Proverbs 20. Chapter 20 of Proverbs teaches about the value of justice, honesty, and self-control, showing that wisdom protects one from the snares of life and that integrity is more valuable than wealth. This chapter warns about the consequences of recklessness and the need to trust in God's guidance. Wine is a mocker, strong drink a brawler, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise. Proverbs 20 verse 1. Lack of control over passions and vices leads to foolishness and destruction. It is an honor for a man to keep aloof from strife, but every fool will be quarreling. Proverbs 20 verse 3. Avoiding unnecessary conflicts demonstrates wisdom. The sluggard does not plow in the autumn, he will seek at harvest and have nothing. Proverbs 20 verse 4. Procrastination hinders success. Those who do not prepare will suffer the consequences. The righteous who walks in his integrity, blessed are his children after him. Proverbs 20 verse 7. Honesty is more valuable than any material wealth. There is gold and abundance of costly stones, but lips that speak knowledge are a precious jewel. Proverbs 20 verse 15. Wisdom is more valuable than any possession. A man's steps are from the Lord, how then can man understand his way? Proverbs 20 verse 24. Life is only meaningful when we trust in God's guidance. Unequal weights are an abomination to the Lord, and false scales are not good. Proverbs 20 verse 23. God hates dishonesty in business and all aspects of life. Great! Let's continue discovering the valuable lessons from Proverbs together. A man of kindness does himself good, but the cruel man troubles his own flesh. Proverbs 11 verse 17. Kindness brings benefits to both the giver and the receiver. Whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets, therefore do not associate with a simple babbler. Proverbs 20 verse 19. Gossip destroys reputations and relationships. Wisdom lies in silence. The spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all his innermost parts. Proverbs 20 verse 27. God knows our hearts and examines our intentions. Self-control protects us from many pitfalls in life. Integrity is more valuable than any wealth. Honesty and justice are non-negotiable principles in God's sight. We must trust in God's guidance instead of relying solely on our own understanding. Silence and prudence protect our reputation and relationships. Are we practicing self-control and avoiding impulsive decisions? Are we living with integrity even when it costs us? Are we trusting in God's guidance or are we insisting on our own way? Are our words wise, or have we fallen into the trap of gossip? A man's steps are from the Lord, how then can man understand his way? Proverbs 20 verse 24. We learn that true wisdom lies in living with integrity, trusting in God's guidance, and practicing justice. Justice, wisdom, and God's ways, Proverbs 21. Chapter 21 of Proverbs teaches about the importance of justice, wisdom, and humility before God. This chapter emphasizes that God reigns over all, that righteousness is more valuable than sacrifice, and that pride leads to destruction. This chapter also warns about the consequences of laziness, lack of self-control, and wickedness. The king's heart is a stream of water in the hand of the Lord, he turns it wherever he will. Proverbs 21 verse 1. God controls rulers and the course of history. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the heart. Proverbs 21 verse 2. We may believe we are on the right path, but God sees our true intentions. The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. Proverbs 21 verse 31. Human effort is necessary, but true success comes from God. To do righteousness and justice is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. Proverbs 21 verse 3. God values a righteous heart more than empty religious rituals. The violence of the wicked will sweep them away, because they refuse to do what is just. Proverbs 21 verse 12. Evil always turns against the wicked, while justice serves as a shield for the upright. Haughty eyes and a proud heart, the lamp of the wicked, are sin. Proverbs 21 verse 4. Pride is the path to sin and destruction. Whoever pursues righteousness and kindness will find life, righteousness, and honor. Proverbs 21 verse 21. Those who seek justice and kindness will be rewarded with abundant life and honor. The desire of the sluggard kills him, for his hands refuse to labor. Proverbs 21 verse 25. Laziness leads to suffering because it prevents action and progress. The plans of the diligent lead assuredly to abundance, but everyone who is hasty surely comes to poverty. Proverbs 21 verse 5. Persistence leads to success, while carelessness brings hardship. A wise man scales the city of the mighty and brings down the stronghold in which they trust. Proverbs 21 verse 22. Wisdom is more powerful than physical strength. Whoever keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps himself out of trouble. Proverbs 21 verse 23. Self-control in speech prevents many problems. God reigns over all and examines the heart. Righteousness and integrity are more important than religious rituals. Pride and wickedness lead to destruction, while humility and justice bring honor. Diligence and hard work are rewarded, but laziness leads to poverty. Wisdom and self-control are more powerful than force. Are we living righteously or just following religious routines? Are we seeking humility or letting pride dominate us? Are we diligent in our work and responsibilities, or have we been careless? Are we practicing wisdom and self-control in our words and actions? Whoever pursues righteousness and kindness finds life, righteousness, and honor. Proverbs 21 verse 21. We learn that true life and prosperity come from seeking justice, wisdom, and integrity before God. Controlling desires and walking in wisdom, Proverbs 22. Chapter 22 of Proverbs teaches about the importance of discipline, character, and prudence in decision-making. This chapter warns that uncontrolled desires can lead to destruction, while self-control and wisdom bring prosperity and honor. True wealth lies not in money but in integrity and reputation. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver or gold. Proverbs 22 verse 1. 1. A good reputation builds trust and opens doors, but many pursue wealth while neglecting honesty. The choices we make today shape how we will be remembered in the future. The prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. Proverbs 22 verse 3. A wise person anticipates danger and takes precautions, but the naive ignore warnings and suffer the consequences. Success without spiritual accountability is an illusion. The fear of God is the foundation that protects us from destructive decisions. Businesses and projects built on honesty thrive sustainably, while those rooted in corruption eventually collapse. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. Proverbs 22 verse 7. The uncontrolled pursuit of wealth leads to financial bondage. Impulsive spending leads to debt and anxiety, but wise financial management brings freedom and peace. Those who control expenses and act prudently will have financial stability. Great! Let's continue discovering the valuable lessons from Proverbs together. A stingy man hastens after wealth and does not know that poverty will come upon him. Proverbs 28 verse 22. Those enslaved by consumerism live in constant misery. Train up a child in the way he should go, even when he is old he will not depart from it. Proverbs 22 verse 6. Education and moral instruction shape a person's future. Training a child in the right way provides a solid foundation for life. Without discipline and values, desires become unrestrained, leading to poor decisions. Parents who instill responsibility and biblical principles equip their children to make wise choices as adults. Whoever has a bountiful eye will be blessed, for he shares his bread with the poor. Proverbs 22 verse 9. A generous heart brings more blessings than the relentless pursuit of wealth. True prosperity is found in giving rather than hoarding. A stingy man hastens after wealth and does not know that poverty will come upon him. Proverbs 28 verse 22. Seeking status and approval from others can be deceptive, leading people into emotional and financial traps. Those who live to impress often forget what really matters. Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Proverbs 13 verse 20. Surrounding ourselves with the right people strengthens our spiritual journey. Bad company corrupts good character. Associating with reckless and impulsive individuals can lead to destruction, while walking with the wise and disciplined brings wisdom and protection. Do not move the ancient landmark that your fathers have set. Proverbs 22 verse 28. Honoring the lessons and principles established by those who came before us is essential for a strong and stable future. Do you see a man skillful in his work? He will stand before kings, he will not stand before obscure men. Proverbs 22 verse 29. Diligence and excellence lead to true success. Those who are faithful in their work will stand before leaders and not in obscurity. Real success comes not from shortcuts but from commitment, dedication, and perseverance. Character and reputation are more valuable than material wealth. The fear of God protects us from deceptive desires. Education and discipline provide a solid foundation for life. Wrong influences can lead us astray, but wisdom keeps us on the right path. True success comes through diligence, patience, and faithfulness. Are we pursuing wealth honestly and righteously? Are our desires aligned with God's will? Are we surrounding ourselves with people who lead us to wisdom and not distractions? The prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. Proverbs 22 verse 3. Proverbs chapter 22 teaches that self-control and wisdom are essential to avoid deceptive desires. The real question remains, how can we apply justice and righteousness in every area of life? Mastering desires and seeking true wisdom, Proverbs 23. Chapter 23 of Proverbs teaches about the dangers of uncontrolled desires, whether for wealth, pleasure, or self-indulgence. This chapter urges us to pursue wisdom, discipline, and contentment, as fleeting desires can draw us away from God and bring devastating consequences. When you sit to eat with a ruler, observe carefully what is before you. Proverbs 23 verse 1. The excessive pursuit of status and influence can lead us to compromise our values. Self-control protects us from traps and manipulation. Many seek to please those in power, but end up falling into temptation and losing their integrity. Wealth and power can be deceptive. What seems like a benefit is often a trap. Do not toil to acquire wealth, be discerning enough to desist. Proverbs 23 verse 4. The relentless ambition for wealth can lead to exhaustion and disappointment. True wisdom lies in finding balance and contentment. Wealth is fleeting, putting our trust in it is like building a house on sand. Our focus should be on God, not on the relentless pursuit of material possessions. Do not move an ancient landmark or enter the fields of the fatherless. Proverbs 23 verse 10. Respecting the principles and values that God has established brings safety. Those who try to take advantage of the weak will eventually face judgment. Apply your heart to instruction and your ear to words of knowledge. Proverbs 23 verse 12. Continuous learning is essential for a meaningful life. Those who value knowledge and discipline will reap the rewards of wisdom. Do not withhold discipline from a child, if you strike him with a rod, he will not die. Proverbs 23 verse 13. Discipline is an act of love and protection. Discipline teaches self-control and prevents many future difficulties. Parents who educate their children with both love and firmness prepare them for a successful and wise future. God is pleased to see his children walk in truth. True happiness comes not from material possessions but from a heart aligned with God. Let your heart not envy sinners, but continue in the fear of the Lord all the day. Proverbs 23 verse 17. Envy of the wicked leads to disappointment and sin, while the fear of the Lord brings true safety and peace. A future built on faith and wisdom is never in vain. Be not among drunkards or among gluttonous eaters of meat. Proverbs 23 verse 20. Excessive indulgence in eating leads to destruction. Those who live only for pleasure will eventually suffer the consequences. Addiction and vice bring sorrow, pain, and ruin. Sin always demands a higher price than expected. Many seek escape in alcohol and fleeting pleasures, but find only regret and destruction. The desire for status and wealth can lead to downfall. Materialism is a trap. True security is found in God. Discipline and education shape strong character. The fear of God ensures a secure future. Unrestrained indulgence and addiction lead to poverty and suffering. Are we seeking wisdom or pursuing temporary pleasures? Are our desires aligned with God's will? Are we practicing discipline and self-control? By wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. Proverbs 24 verse 3. Prudence. True safety comes from a foundation of understanding and knowledge. A wise man is full of strength, and a man of knowledge enhances his might. Proverbs 24 verse 5. The wise are strong, and true strength comes not from physical power but from wisdom. For by wise guidance you can wage your war, and in abundance of counselors there is victory. Proverbs 24 verse 6. Making decisions alone can be risky, while seeking wise counsel leads to victory. Many failures can be avoided with careful planning and listening to the right advice. God calls us to act honestly and with integrity in all our decisions. If you faint in the day of trouble, your strength is small. Proverbs 24 verse 10. Adversity reveals a person's true strength. We must trust in God and not give up when faced with difficulties. Many abandon their path in times of trial, but those who persevere will see the rewards of their faith. For the righteous falls 7 times and rises again, but the wicked stumble in calamity. Proverbs 24 verse 16. If we fall, we should not remain on the ground. God gives us the strength to rise. Do not rejoice when your enemy falls, and let not your heart be glad when he stumbles. Proverbs 24 verse 17. Finding joy in the downfall of others reveals a hardened heart. God is just and does not approve of revenge or hatred. Vengeance belongs to God, and our role is to trust in His justice. I passed by the field of a sluggard, by the vineyard of a man lacking sense. Proverbs 24 verse 30. Carelessness leads to destruction. An undisciplined life is marked by wasted opportunities and unfulfilled potential. Complacency leads to poverty, and those who delay their responsibilities will face the consequences. God calls us to be diligent and faithful in all we do, for honest work brings provision and blessing. Envy of the wicked is an illusion. True success comes from God. Wisdom is the foundation of a strong and prosperous life. Seeking wise counsel leads to victory. Perseverance strengthens our faith and lifts us after failure. Justice belongs to God, and we must trust in His perfect timing. Laziness leads to poverty, while diligence brings prosperity. Are we building our lives on wisdom or on shortcuts and deception? Do we seek wise counsel before making important decisions? How do we react to difficulties? Do we give up or persevere? Do we avoid laziness and work diligently? For the righteous falls 7 times and rises again, but the wicked stumble in calamity. Proverbs 24 verse 16. Proverbs chapter 24 reminds us that lasting success comes from wisdom, perseverance, and trust in God. The real question remains, How can we strengthen our faith and avoid the dangers of laziness and unpreparedness? How to achieve honor and live prudently, Proverbs 25. Chapter 25 of Proverbs teaches about the importance of humility, self-control, and wisdom in relationships. This chapter shows us that true success comes from a wise heart, a controlled tongue, and righteous actions. God's glory is found in the mystery of His wisdom, but He invites us to seek understanding. The wise continually investigate and learn, knowing that true knowledge is an endless pursuit. God's greatness and the complexity of His creation are beyond measure, and humility leads us to seek more wisdom, while the foolish are content with ignorance. It is the glory of God to conceal things, but the glory of kings is to search things out. Proverbs 25 verse 2. Humility paves the way for honor. It is better to wait for recognition than to seek it too soon, as self-exaltation leads to shame. Many try to draw attention but end up embarrassed. God opposes the proud but honors the humble. Do not hastily go to court, for what will you do in the end, when your neighbor puts you to shame? Proverbs 25 verse 8. Impulsiveness in conflict can bring regret, so we must seek the truth before making accusations. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver. Proverbs 25 verse 11. Right words spoken at the right time are of great value. Wisdom is not only in what we say but also in when and how we say it. Even good things when consumed excessively can be harmful. Moderation protects us from overindulgence and waste. Knowing when to step back in relationships is a sign of wisdom, as even the best relationships can be affected by a lack of boundaries. A man who bears false witness against his neighbor is like a hammer, a sword, and a sharp arrow. Proverbs 25 verse 18. False promises and betrayal have devastating effects. Lies destroy reputations, and trust placed in untrustworthy people leads to disappointment. We must carefully choose whom we trust in difficult times. If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he is thirsty, give him water to drink. Proverbs 25 verse 21. Vengeance belongs to God, and our role is to show kindness even to our enemies. When we respond with love, we reflect spiritual maturity and allow God to work in hearts. The north wind brings forth rain, and a slanderous tongue, a grievous face. Proverbs 25 verse 23. Deception and dishonesty create conflict, but honesty brings peace. A contentious household robs the joy of life, while patience and respect build strong relationships. A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. Proverbs 25 verse 28. A person without self-control is like a city without walls, unable to defend against destruction. Emotional discipline is a shield against impulsive and harmful decisions. Seeking wisdom brings honor and insight. Humility protects us from disgrace and leads to exaltation. Right words at the right time carry great power. Folly's fate and the wise's ways, Proverbs 26. Chapter 26 of Proverbs warns about the folly of foolishness, the power of words, and the importance of discernment. This chapter illustrates how laziness, deceit, and strife ruin lives. Wisdom protects us from traps, while foolishness leads to destruction. Honoring a fool is as absurd as snow in summer. Foolishness always brings shame to those who embrace it. Like a sparrow in its fluttering, like a swallow in its flying, a curse that is causeless does not alight. Proverbs 26 verse 2. No curse can come upon someone without a cause, as God protects those who live righteously and uprightly. A whip for the horse, a bridle for the donkey, and a rod for the back of fools. Proverbs 26 verse 3. Fools only learn through pain and severe correction. Discipline is necessary for those who reject instruction. We must exercise discernment when dealing with fools. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him yourself. Proverbs 26 verse 4. Engaging in meaningless debates only lowers us to their level. However, sometimes a fool must be confronted to prevent them from thinking they are wise. Each situation requires wisdom to know when to respond and when to remain silent. Whoever sends a message by the hand of a fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. Proverbs 26 verse 6. Entrusting a fool with an important task leads to loss and chaos, as foolishness makes any task dangerous and ineffective. The sluggard says, "There is a lion in the road. There is a lion in the streets." Proverbs 26 verse 13. Laziness is marked by endless excuses. The lazy create imaginary dangers to avoid responsibility. They are trapped in a vicious cycle of inaction and wasted potential. A lazy person desires benefits but refuses effort. Their pride prevents them from recognizing their own shortcomings. Like one who takes a passing dog by the ears is he who meddles in a quarrel not his own. Proverbs 26 verse 17. Getting involved in conflicts that don't concern us is like grabbing a wild dog by the ears. It will only bring trouble. Like silver glaze on an earthen vessel are fervent lips with an evil heart. Proverbs 26 verse 23. Some use deception and lies, disguising them as jokes, but their words bring ruin. The words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels, they go down into the inner parts of the body. Proverbs 26 verse 22. Gossipers stir up division, and their words may seem sweet but are deeply toxic. Removing a troublemaker is the best way to restore peace. Whoever hates disguises himself with his lips and harbors deceit in his heart. Proverbs 26 verse 24. Hypocrisy conceals evil intentions. A deceitful person may appear trustworthy, but their heart is full of malice. Their words may be smooth, but their motives are hidden. Those who plot against others eventually fall into their own traps. Honor does not belong to fools. Engaging in disputes with fools is unwise, as they refuse to learn. Laziness leads to destruction and self-pity. Meddling in others' conflicts is a dangerous mistake. Deceit and hypocrisy ruin relationships and cause harm. Gossipers keep the flames of discord burning. Evil always returns to those who practice it. Are we acting wisely in our words and actions? Do we avoid arguing with fools, or do we insist on convincing those who refuse to learn? Are we rejecting laziness and being diligent in our pursuits? Are we discerning enough to recognize and protect ourselves from deceptive people? For lack of wood, the fire goes out, and where there is no whisperer, contention ceases. Proverbs 26 verse 20. Proverbs chapter 26 reminds us that foolishness, laziness, and deceit bring destruction, but wisdom protects us from unnecessary troubles. The real question remains, how can we cultivate wisdom and avoid the pitfalls of folly in our daily lives? How to live wisely in relationships and character, Proverbs 27. Chapter 27 of Proverbs teaches us the importance of building strong relationships, cultivating solid character, and living prudently. This chapter warns us against pride, deceit, and the unpredictability of life, showing that true friendship and wisdom are lasting treasures. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. Proverbs 27 verse 1. The future is uncertain, and boasting about tomorrow can lead to disappointment. True recognition comes from others, not from self-promotion. Humility attracts honor, while arrogance pushes people away. Wrath is cruel, anger is overwhelming, but who can stand before jealousy? Proverbs 27 verse 4. Anger and jealousy are burdens that can weigh down the soul. Learning to control emotions is essential to avoid destructive conflicts. Jealousy is like a silent poison that erodes relationships and distorts our perspective. Better is open rebuke than hidden love. Proverbs 27 verse 5. A sincere correction given in love is more valuable than empty flattery. True friends offer honest advice even when it's hard to hear. Relationships that challenge us to grow are the ones that make us stronger. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. Proverbs 27 verse 17. Wisdom enables us to foresee problems and avoid unnecessary difficulties. Diligently managing what we have ensures stability and prosperity. On the other hand, carelessness leads to loss. Financial success must be accompanied by careful planning, as nothing in life is guaranteed. We are called to be wise stewards of what God has given us. Gratitude allows us to appreciate even the smallest blessings, while discontentment makes one overlook what is truly important. Stability brings security, whether in family, work, or faith. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Proverbs 17 verse 17. Great! Let's continue discovering the valuable lessons from Proverbs together. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Proverbs 17 verse 17. Surrounding oneself with loyal, wise friends is far more valuable than seeking temporary companions. In times of trouble, true friendship brings comfort, guidance, and joy, and a sincere word of encouragement means more than any material gift. Whoever has a bountiful eye will be blessed, for he shares his bread with the poor. Proverbs 22 verse 9. Generosity leads to blessing, while greed leads to loss. Sharing what we have brings faith and prosperity. However, withholding for selfish gain leads to resentment and judgment. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. Proverbs 27 verse 1. The future is uncertain, and humility is key to living wisely and depending on God. Anger and jealousy are destructive, while true friendship brings correction and strength. Prudence protects us from making bad decisions, and wise resource management brings security. Loyalty and generosity are rewarded both in this life and in eternity. Are we living humbly, recognizing that tomorrow is in God's hands? Do we cherish and nurture true friendships, or are we drawn to empty flattery? Are we practicing prudence and preparing for the future wisely? Are we faithfully managing what God has entrusted to us? Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. Proverbs 27 verse 17. Proverbs chapter 27 reminds us that true friendship, humility, and wisdom are keys to a blessed and successful life. The real question remains, how can we cultivate deeper relationships and live with the wisdom that leads to lasting success? How to live justly and uprightly, Proverbs 28. Chapter 28 of Proverbs teaches the importance of justice, honesty, and obedience to God. This chapter warns against the dangers of corruption, greed, and lack of reverence for God, showing that true prosperity comes from righteousness and diligent work. The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Proverbs 28 verse 1. The righteous live boldly, while the wicked are plagued by fear and insecurity. Sin creates guilt and leads to anxiety, but those who walk in integrity have peace and confidence. Those who forsake the law praise the wicked, but those who keep the law strive against them. Proverbs 28 verse 4. Rejecting God's law leads to supporting injustice, while those who uphold truth stand against evil. Better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. Proverbs 28 verse 6. Wealth without character is worthless in God's sight. Integrity is more valuable than any possession. The pursuit of dishonest gain leads to ruin, as wealth acquired through injustice does not bring lasting blessing. God ensures that wealth gained through corruption ultimately benefits those who are compassionate and just. Whoever conceals his transgressions will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. Proverbs 28 verse 13. Those who hide their sins remain trapped in them, but those who confess and forsake wrongdoing find mercy. The fear of God protects us from destructive choices, while stubbornness and rebellion lead to downfall. Wealth often breeds pride, but true wisdom is not dependent on status. When the righteous triumph, there is great rejoicing, but when the wicked rule, people groan. Proverbs 29 verse 2. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the nation suffers. Corruption and injustice bring oppression, while leaders who act with integrity bring peace and prosperity. He who does violence to his father and chases away his mother is a son who brings shame and reproach. Proverbs 19 verse 26. Disrespecting family and acting dishonestly towards parents is a serious mistake that leads to ruin. Seeking wealth through shortcuts leads to poverty. True provision comes from honest labor and diligent effort. Like a gold ring or an ornament of gold is a wise reprover to a listening ear. Proverbs 25 verse 12. A sincere correction brings growth, while flattery deceives and misleads. Following only one's feelings is dangerous, but walking in wisdom leads to safety and salvation. Whoever has a bountiful eye will be blessed, for he shares his bread with the poor. Proverbs 22 verse 9. Generosity attracts God's blessing. Those who care for the poor will never lack, but those who turn a blind eye to the needs of others will face consequences. The fear of man lays a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is safe. Proverbs 29 verse 25. True confidence comes from a right relationship with God, while fear and guilt accompany those who walk in sin. Righteousness brings boldness, but sin breeds fear and insecurity. Wealth without integrity is meaningless, while honesty is more valuable. The fear of God leads to happiness and protection. Wicked leaders bring suffering, but just rulers bring joy. The pursuit of easy wealth leads to ruin, while correction is more valuable than empty flattery. Generosity brings blessing, while indifference leads to loss. Are we living boldly and righteously, or are we letting fear and guilt control our lives? Are we pursuing wealth with integrity, or are we tempted by dangerous shortcuts? Do we fear God and follow His wisdom, or do we rely only on our own understanding? Are we generous to those in need, or have we ignored the suffering around us? Whoever conceals his transgressions will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. Proverbs 28 verse 13. Proverbs chapter 28 reminds us that justice, integrity, and the fear of God lead to true prosperity and divine protection. How can we align our lives with God's wisdom and walk in righteousness every day? How to live justly and wisely, Proverbs 29. Chapter 29 of Proverbs teaches the importance of discipline, justice, and wisdom for a prosperous and secure life. Every word of God proves true. He is a shield to those who take refuge in Him. Proverbs 30 verse 5. The greatness of the heavens, power over nature, and foundation of the earth are beyond human control. This reminds us that true wisdom comes from acknowledging God's sovereignty. Every word of God is perfect, and he is a shield to those who take refuge in him. His truth is an unchangeable foundation that does not conform to human preferences. Those who try to twist his words for personal gain will eventually be exposed. The purity and reliability of the Bible should lead us to trust in God's promises and live by his principles. Remove far from me falsehood and lying, give me neither poverty nor riches, feed me with the food that is needful for me. Proverbs 30 verse 8. Aga makes a simple yet profound request, neither riches nor poverty, but to be given daily bread. He understands that wealth can lead to pride and self-reliance, causing one to forget God, while extreme poverty can lead to dishonesty and sin. This balanced perspective teaches that contentment is found in dependence on God rather than in material possessions. True happiness lies in moderation and gratitude, not in the endless pursuit of wealth or the escape from hardship. There is a generation that curses its father and does not bless its mother. Proverbs 30 verse 11. A generation that curses their parents and refuses to honor them reveals a heart full of pride and rebellion. Those who claim to be pure but remain blind to their own shortcomings are deceiving themselves. Pride blinds people to the truth, but humility opens the door to wisdom. Pride leads to downfall, while reverence for God brings understanding and guidance. Three things are stately in their tread, for are stately in their stride. Proverbs 30 verse 29. Aga uses examples from nature to illustrate wisdom. The small creatures of the earth demonstrate incredible survival strategies that humans can learn from. Ants prepare for the future through diligence and foresight. Rock badgers seek safety and a solid foundation rather than their own strength. Locusts march in unity despite having no leader, demonstrating the power of cooperation. Spiders, though small, find themselves in kings' palaces, showing that perseverance and adaptability lead to unexpected success. These creatures remind us that wisdom is not about size or strength, but about preparation, strategy, and determination. If you have been foolish, exalting yourself, or if you have been devising evil, put your hand on your mouth. Proverbs 30 verse 32. 1. Pride and arrogance must be controlled before they lead to destruction. If we exalt ourselves or plot evil, we should stop immediately before facing the consequences. For pressing milk produces curds, pressing the nose produces blood, and pressing anger produces strife. Proverbs 30 verse 33. Just as pressing milk produces butter and pressing the nose produces blood, stirring up anger leads to conflict. Prolonged strife only fuels further division. Wisdom teaches us to avoid unnecessary battles and to de-escalate tensions. True wisdom begins with humility and acknowledging God's greatness. His word is perfect and should not be distorted. Balance in life is crucial, not allowing extreme wealth or poverty to define us. Pride leads to ruin, while humility fosters growth. Even the smallest creatures teach us valuable lessons about diligence, preparation, and cooperation. Pride must be controlled before it leads to unnecessary conflicts. Are we recognizing our limitations and seeking God's wisdom? Are we content with what God provides, or are we constantly pursuing more? Are we learning from the wisdom found in nature and applying it to our lives? Are we avoiding pride and unnecessary strife, choosing humility instead? Every word of God proves true, he is a shield to those who take refuge in him. Proverbs 30 verse 5. This chapter teaches that humility, reverence for God, and moderation are essential for a balanced and blessed life. How can we cultivate humility and dependence on God in a world that values pride and self-reliance? True wisdom in life and character, Proverbs 31. Chapter 31 of Proverbs presents the teachings of King Lemuel, who received valuable instruction from his mother about leadership, character, and family. This passage highlights the importance of justice, moderation, and wisdom in relationships, culminating in the famous description of the wife of noble character, a model of strength, dignity, and reverence for God. What are you doing, my son? What are you doing, son of my womb? What are you doing, son of my vows? Proverbs 31 verse 2. From the outset, it is clear that wisdom and instruction begin in the family. The influence of a wise mother can shape a leader's character, demonstrating that true leadership is built on a foundation of integrity and discipline. Do not give your strength to women, your ways to those who destroy kings. Proverbs 31 verse 3. One of the most crucial warnings is the need for discernment in relationships. Poor personal choices can lead to downfall, and those who seek to rule with wisdom must maintain balance in all areas of life. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, or for rulers to take strong drink. Proverbs 31 verse 4. Moderation is essential. A leader should not be controlled by pleasure or vice, as indulgence clouds judgment and leads to injustice. Those in positions of power must maintain a clear mind, making decisions with discernment and fairness. Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Proverbs 31 verse 8. But perhaps the most prominent instruction is the call to defend those who cannot speak for themselves. True leadership is not about personal gain but about upholding justice, protecting the vulnerable, and standing against corruption. A wife of noble character who can find. She is worth far more than rubies. Proverbs 31 verse 10. King Lemuel's mother then paints the portrait of a wife of noble character whose value far exceeds material wealth. She is wise, diligent, and faithful. She provides security for her family, and her husband trusts her, knowing that their life is built on stability and prosperity. She seeks the well-being of her household, working diligently and ensuring the sustenance of those who depend on her. She is entrepreneurial and visionary, investing wisely, managing resources effectively, and building a secure future. Her strength is not only physical but also emotional and spiritual. She faces challenges with courage and determination, her heart marked by compassion and generosity. She extends her hands to the poor and cares for the afflicted. Her dignity and strength allow her to look to the future without fear, as her life is built on integrity. She is not only hardworking and generous, she is also wise. Her words are full of kindness, offering guidance and encouragement to those around her. Her household is a place of discipline and order, ensuring stability and harmony. Her influence on those around her is undeniable. Her children recognize her as a blessing, and her husband praises her. The recognition of a life well lived comes naturally. She does not seek applause, for her character speaks for itself. The passage concludes with a powerful truth: external beauty fades, but character endures. Many are preoccupied with appearances and the admiration of others, but true greatness comes from reverence for God and wisdom applied in daily life. The lessons in this chapter are clear: wisdom begins at home, and a mother's instruction can shape a leader. True leadership requires justice, moderation, and compassion for those in need. Strong relationships are built on trust and integrity. Diligence and wise management are essential for prosperity. Generosity and compassion reflect a heart full of wisdom. A person's true worth lies not in appearance but in character and reverence for God. Are we striving to be just and wise in our daily decisions? Are we living diligently and managing well what God has entrusted to us? Are we focusing more on external appearances or on the strength of our character? Are we seeking God's wisdom to guide our actions? Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Proverbs 31 verse 30. True excellence lies in wisdom, character, and reverence for God. The Book of Proverbs has revealed a map to a life of wisdom, justice, and reverence for God. Every word, every teaching, echoes through time, challenging us to live with integrity, discernment, and humility. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Proverbs 9 verse 10. But now, the big question is, what will we do with this wisdom? Will we be mere hearers, or will we apply these teachings in every decision, every choice, every step we take? The Book of Proverbs is not just a collection of inspiring phrases, it is a call to forsake foolishness, to live with purpose, and to walk in the path of light. True wisdom is not just knowing but living. If this study has impacted you, like, share, and comment. I choose wisdom. Let us spread this message and live a life guided by God's light. Wisdom is calling. Are you listening?